Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Solid Gold Scripture Journals. I'm Marcy. Now, normally this channel gives us ways to study our scriptures, but sometimes I like to give you some content which nobody asked for, but I just really want to do. For example, I love to read. I am the secretary of my book club. I keep things running, and I just want to share with you the books I read in September. So maybe, you can have some ideas for books you might like to read. Book number 1, got this at The Goodwill, Self-Health by Miranda Sings. If you know, you know. She's a crazy lady. She's a character, comedian, and I enjoy her so much. And this was a book she wrote a long time ago, so I had to give it a little read. Can I recommend it? If you know, you know. If you like her, you like her. If you don't even worry about it. Okay, next book. I Survived the Destruction of Pompeii, AD 79. Very exciting. This book is written for grade 2 to 4 children by Lauren Tarshis. I am a big fan of hers. I think she writes great books that children, especially boys, like to read. So I was really interested in this. I also read her book about Mount St. Helens in 1980 because I remember that. So I kind of wanted to compare. Also, there's that volcano happening in Spain right now. So I just wanted to see how it went, and it was really quite enjoyable for grade 2 to 4. Next book. This is what we did for book club. Chris Hadfield, An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. He is a Canadian astronaut. When he was a little boy in 1969, he watched man land on the moon, and he said, I'm going to be an astronaut, even though he was Canadian, and Canadians didn't have astronauts. So he worked his whole life to become an astronaut, even though it wasn't a possibility. And what do you know? Eventually, they did accept some Canadian astronauts, and he is the Captain Kirk. Okay, I love Captain Kirk. I love William Shatner, and Chris Hadfield is as close as we get to a Canadian Starfleet officer, I guess is what I want to say. He was like the captain of the space station. So I thought that was pretty fun. Ladies in my book club thought it was a little detail-oriented, a little boring perhaps, but he gives a lot of good information. I'm just going to tell you a couple of his words of wisdom, if you will. So this, I have another journal. This one is my book club journal. Oh, he talks about being in quarantine for 2 whole weeks before he went on his mission to outer space. We're all like, wow, that must have been something. Competition is only healthy when it's a team effort. Thought that was good because I'm a little bit competitive at times. All right, next book. The Body Keeps the Score. I like listening to podcasts, and when the podcaster talks about a book that kind of interests me, I write it down and I try to read it or listen to it later. And it talks a lot about how our bodies internalize different kinds of traumas that we've had. So I just thought it was an interesting read, helps you to understand people better. And one more book, I read This Place, a 150-year anthology. It's an anthology with 10 different authors and illustrators, and it is a graphic novel. So I'm not really big into graphic novels, but I really wanted to read the book and kind of get a bit of the history. The book is written by descendants of the First Nations that were in Canada when the European settlers came. And the book talks about how those First Nations are now living in an apocalypse. Their culture was almost completely destroyed by the European settlers. And so these are some stories of the past, the present, and the future. So some of the things I recognized because I lived through them, and other things I was not aware of. So it was a really good story. I started to enjoy the format more and more as I read, because I'm not really a comic book reader or a graphic novel reader, but I did want to read this. Canada had its first Day of Truth and Reconciliation on September 30th. So I wanted to finish this book in time for that, so I could really understand what's going on. So those are the books I read in September. Maybe you can get some ideas of something you might want to read, and I'll see you next time. Bye.